Hi everyone, hope you're doing really well. Today I'm going to share my favourite scripture of all time with you. It is Titus chapter 1, verse 15. This has been one of my favourite scriptures for a very long time. I'm also going to give you an actual example that I witnessed where this scripture was fully demonstrated. And it was about 6 months ago when I was watching a British soap opera, and one character represents part of this scripture against the other character who represents the not so chaste part of this scripture. But what we'll do is we'll just read it together and then I will go into the example. We'll just come in a bit, shall we? 15, follow along. All things are clean to clean people. But to those who are defiled and faithless, nothing is clean, for both their minds and their conscience are defiled. And how true that is. A defiled person, when he wakes up in the morning, his inclinations, his thought pattern, and everything else is already tainted. So everything he looks upon throughout the day will be with that in mind. It will be defiled, not clean. But to an upright and chaste and moral person, when he wakes up in the morning and he starts out his day, he doesn't look at the same things in the same way. And I will give now an example of what I mean by this. So 6 months ago, I was watching my favourite soap opera, Coronation Street. Don't laugh at me, people. I've been a Coronation Street fan for years. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Now, there's a character in Coronation Street called Roy Cropper, and he is considered to be a voice of reason, someone that knows right from wrong. I mean, someone that would not easily be bought. A lovely character, and I'm glad Coronation Street have him in. Now, there was this particular scene where he did this favour for one of his young employees called Lauren. And she's a young girl who, throughout her life, has probably been poured on upon men old enough to be her father. Now, he does this favour, a pure in heart favour for her. He gets her accommodation when she's down on her luck. And her thoughts are to pay him back in some way. So she offers him sexual favours. But at first, Roy does not pick up on what she's driving at. So she actually spells it out to him. And at that point there, it dawns upon him that she's offering him sex in return for the favour that he's just done for her, finding her accommodation when no one else was helping. And this scripture immediately sprung to my mind when that scene played out. And I thought, well, Roy is not defiled. He's not tainted as such. He's able to do favours for people and not want something back in return. But Lauren, with her upbringing, lifestyle, has probably had older men pouring at her, and she's thought it's an acceptable thing to offer them sexual favours in return for a favour that they've done for her. But this is not the case, is it, with Roy? Because you can't say that he was defiled the way this scripture is worded, and faithless. So his mind and his conscience were clean from the start. He doesn't start his day out looking for opportunities to get sexual gratification any way he can, because that's not the kind of person he was, not the kind of character he was. And this can be applied to any of us. When we wake up in the morning, when we start our day out, do we look for opportunities to get gratification any way we can from vulnerable people? Do we look to do people harm? Well, if we did, it's likely that this scripture applies to us in the fact that our thinking is probably defiled and we're far from chaste and we've got a long way to go. So I just thought I'd bring out that particular example in Coronation Street because it really hit home with me, how she had to spell it out to Roy because he just did not pick up on what she was driving at when she first mentioned it. And he handled it in such a subtle way when he said, oh, that won't be necessary. And he didn't make her feel awkward either. So Coronation Street is all the better for having a character like Roy Cropper in. Now, if he wasn't in Coronation Street, you'd just be left with some dark characters who have made lots of mistakes. Because nobody really in Coronation Street is like him. He gives the whole show a balance. And the closest one, I suppose you could say, to trying to do the right thing morally and what have you would probably be Mary, another character. But for me, it's Roy Cropper. And Coronation Street is all the better for having him in. So yeah, my favourite scripture, Titus chapter 1, verse 15. And I found a physical example of how it played out in real life. I'll see y'all. Just a quick one.